Gems friends, welcome to Friended. I'm Miss Lene and I'm so glad you are here. This season at Gems, we're talking about friendship. Together we've been focusing on our friendship with one another and also with God. I'm curious, if your friends came over to your home, how do you think they would respond if the first thing you said to them was, "Can I wash your feet?" Might be kind of weird, right? In our culture, we wash our feet in a shower or tub. Sometimes we might even pamper our feet with a pedicure and use scented soaps, bubble bath, and lotions. But when Jesus lived on earth, people didn't just wash their feet as a special treat. No, when Jesus lived on earth, there were no cars, bicycles, or public transportation. People wore sandals and traveled almost everywhere on foot. So when they showed up at someone's house, their feet were covered with dirt and dust. That meant foot washing was ordinary. It was an ordinary, dirty, stinky job. It was a horrible job, but someone had to do it. So it was assigned to a servant who was the least important person in the room. Listen carefully as I share a story from the Bible, God's word of truth. When Jesus used a basin and a towel to show how to be a one another friend. In the New Testament book of John, chapter 13, it tells us that one evening, Jesus and a group of 12 friends, whom he called disciples, walked to a home for supper. Before they ate, Jesus gave thanks for the food. Then in the middle of supper, while everyone was talking, eating, and even arguing amongst themselves about who was the greatest, Jesus got up, he walked away from the table to get a towel. Now, Jesus didn't need a towel because someone had spilled. He wasn't avoiding the argument. Actually, Jesus had something to show his friends about being the greatest. He was about to do something big to show them what it means to be a friend. Guess what happened next? John 13, verses 4 and 5 tell us. So he got up from the meal, took off his outer clothing, and wrapped a towel around his waist. After that, he poured water into a basin and began to wash his disciples' feet, drying them with the towel that was wrapped around him. Can you believe it? Washing feet doesn't sound like something Jesus should have to do, does it? It's a servant's job. How do you think the disciples responded when their Lord and teacher stooped to his knees and started washing their dirty, stinky feet? At first, Peter told Jesus to stop. He didn't know what Jesus was doing. No one did. But Peter knew it wasn't right. Important people shouldn't be doing the messy, unimportant work of a servant. Nothing and no one is ever too messy or unimportant for Jesus. He was a servant king who would do anything, big or small, for anyone, including you, to show them his love. Look at your feet as you think about the feet Jesus washed. Jesus washed Judas's feet. Judas was a disciple who pretended to be Jesus's friend, but he wasn't. After that very supper, Judas would lead Jesus to the people who would arrest him, spit on him, and nail him to a cross. Jesus knew what Judas was going to do, but he washed his feet anyway. Instead of skipping over him, he opened to serve him. He showed Judas love. Jesus washed the feet of his closest friends, Peter, James, and John. These friends would fall asleep, even when Jesus needed them to stay awake and pray for him. Jesus washed the feet of every person in the room, knowing that before the night was over, all those feet would run away from him instead of stick close. But Jesus didn't skip over anyone. He stooped to serve in small ways like washing feet, and in the biggest way possible by laying down his life. He served to show his friends his love. That's what friends do. Friends serve one another. Do you want to be great? Do you want to be the most important thing ever? Serve one another. Galatians 5:13 tells us this: serve one another humbly in love. Yes, that's what one another friends do. Friends serve one another. Towels are a picture of service. Towels are ordinary, and they're used in ordinary ways like cleaning up messes they didn't make. The sole purpose of a towel is to care for the needs of others. Can you imagine a towel talking back to you and saying, I don't want to clean that up. I didn't make that mess. I'm too important to serve. That'd be crazy, right? Towels don't talk back. They're simply used in quiet and humble ways to serve others wherever and however they're needed. That's what friends who serve one another do. They serve one another humbly in love by doing whatever is needed. If you're watching at a place where you can join me, please put your right hand over your left forearm like it's a towel. Who is someone you can serve this week? Maybe someone in your home, school, or neighborhood. You could make breakfast for your family in the morning, pick up the house for your grandma, pick up trash on the school bus. Ask your neighbor if you can walk his dog or rake her leaves. In big ways, small ways, always serve one another in love. Let's look for ways to live our second one another this week and serve one another. It's what one another friends do.